Welcome back to Dog Health News. I'm Roberta Chadis. This show is dedicated to dogs because we want everyone to take better care of their dogs. And today we have someone very special with us, Carrie Thomas. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Roberta. I'm glad to be here.
I'm thrilled to have you. The real reason that I'm so thrilled is because Carrie has been working with dogs for a number of years in the area of rescue. Mm-hmm. And I think what we'd like to start off with is how you got into this area, and I'm going to let you talk and introduce yourself to the audience.
Sounds great. Thanks, Roberta.
Thank you.
I've been working in rescue, started out by wanting to adopt a dog and found my first dog, Joey, on petfinder.com. When I looked at Petfinder, this was over 11 years ago, there were so many dogs and cats and animals. I just couldn't believe my eyes what was happening out there. It was kind of opened my eyes to how many animals needed homes. And of course, when the websites came about and Facebook, then that was really opened my eyes to a lot of different animals that needed homes. And that's how I started looking at all of the different scenarios around shelters and what was happening in our country and across the world. So I ended up adopting Toby and Scooter. Basically,
I was going to say, I think we have pictures. So let's bring up the first picture. There might be 3 dogs there, I think.
Or 2.
Okay, okay. And so back to Toby.
Yeah, so Toby and so Joey came from a high kill shelter in West Virginia. He was driven through the night up to Hyannis, and we went down to meet him. He had had scabies, had so a skin infection. He was 5 pounds, soaking wet, and in a tube sock as a coat. He's the one that looks like the Sheltie. And then Toby was one I found on Facebook. From getting into Facebook and realizing how many animals needed homes, I found a high kill shelter in North Carolina that was struggling with getting their dogs out of danger. So, go ahead.
Mention a little bit about a high kill shelter.
Well, across the country there are shelters that are in poorer rural sections of the country that don't have either the money, the funding, or the exposure to people. So Facebook has been incredibly empowering for these shelters. So I found Toby's face on Facebook, and I said I want to get him out of danger. And realizing how hard it was to get him to me from North Carolina to Massachusetts was a huge step, and that's how I discovered transporting.
Yeah. So some of the pictures we're going to offer our audience are your dogs. There's about 2 or 3 of those pictures.
Yep.
And as you continue to talk, we're going to see pictures of transported dogs. So we'll just have them come up, and Carrie's going to talk about each one of those.
Right. Well, I got involved in transporting because of Toby, realizing that it was a real challenge. It was costly to get him to me, and there wasn't anything really set up at that time from North Carolina. At least I couldn't find one. It was all this me trying to figure this all out. And then I found a group called Rescue Road Warriors that does a transport every 2 weeks, so 24 times a year, Missouri to Maine. And then they also have other routes, like Missouri to Wisconsin. They bring dogs to areas of the country that have less dogs than their area. So the North is one of the areas that really doesn't have as many dogs because of the winter. The winter changes the whole fabric of how many animals are created.
It's interesting. I've always wondered why there are so many in the South.
Yeah, I spoke to a director of MSPCA, and she said that's part of the reason why the North or the northern states don't have as big a problem, because the dogs are not mating year-round. Because you take 2 dogs, and if in 6 years, that's from all of the puppies and the exponential rate of how many animals are mating, that can give you 67,000 dogs, just 2 dogs in 6 years, 67,000 dogs.
I know,
so
it's amazing.
Huge. So I ended up getting into transport, And you can see from some of the pictures that I've transported all kinds of dogs, hounds, purebreds that are breeder release.
And we'll bring a couple of those pictures up as we go.
Great.
Okay. Great.
And it's been very rewarding. I've introduced people to transport. They always need transporters. And the transporting, this Rescue Road Warriors is only one of thousands of transport groups. It's a group, it's an army of volunteers that meets, they have a set schedule. Ours does it in 3 days and 2 sleepovers, and the animals get to go in a home and sleep, and they're very well cared for all the way across the country. As a matter of fact, one of my dogs, Scooter, who's the third dog in that group of that pack, came from Rescue Road Warriors, came from Missouri, and my husband was my co-pilot, and we fell in love with him, and he was not spoken for. He was going to go into a foster home in Maine, but we ended up saying we wanted him, and he came home that day.
And what are the things that you have to be careful about as you're transporting the dogs?
Well, you have to keep the puppies separate from the full grown dogs. What they do, and this is a very reputable group, there are over 1,000 of us strong. The animals are fully vetted, quarantined, spayed and neutered if they're old enough. But if they're not old enough to have full immunizations at puppies, we have to be really careful. So parvo and distemper are still rampant in this country. Parvo is incredibly contagious if you get it, if a puppy gets it. And the stress of a transport could, you have to basically make sure that these animals are well cared for all the way across the country. And with that, we keep the older dogs separate from the puppies. They're called no paws on ground, and we handle them differently. We wear gloves a lot of times. We use disinfectant, keep the bowls separate, the crates separate, and everything. So we've had very successful runs. And since, in 5 years, Rescue Road Warriors has transported over 9,000 dogs to safety.
That's great. Oh, you must feel so happy.
Yeah, that's a really good,
So you got involved, and now you're a part of it. And I know that there are lots of other people that are doing this. The pictures that you have sent us, I don't know how many that we've shown of the transported dogs. The one dog that comes to mind is, well, the 2 dogs, is Harley and Teddy.
Now those aren't transport dogs. Those are dogs that were from puppy mills.
Right. Right.
And we can talk about puppy mills if you like now.
We can do that.
Okay.
We can do that.
There's
a picture of
Harley and Teddy
that hopefully we'll be pulling up. Harley has
one eye.
One eye.
Harley's story, and you can go, these dogs are spokes dogs for National Mill Dog Rescue. They live their lives in cages and were used to create lots and lots of puppies, but never really got any care. Harley lost his eye because a lot of these puppy mills power washed the crates without removing the animals, and he lost his eye from being power washed. He was actually left for dead, and one of the puppy mill employees saw him breathing and gave him to a rescue group, and he was adopted. They didn't think he was going to live long. He spent 10 years in a cage with little or no medical care, but he's flourishing, and he's now a spokes dog. He's actually has won all kinds of awards.
Yeah, you can show, I think.
And he actually, he basically has, right now, Harley has, if I may look at my stats, there's lots of numbers to remember. Harley has 82,000 followers on Facebook.
Great.
And this is him winning, he won this cover photo on Modern Dog magazine, which is a great tribute, thinking about how most of these magazines just want to show pretty dogs, beautiful dogs. This dog is our world. This is what we're doing to animals, to have beautiful puppies in pet stores. And this is really trying to bring awareness to the public that we have to stop puppy mills.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Your manner, Carrie, is so calm and so relaxing, and it's just really wonderful to know that there are people out there like you that are dealing with such a serious issue.
Yeah,
I'll let you go on to the next subject.
There's so many different angles to rescue, and that can become overwhelming. What I try to do, from my perspective, is do something from a local level, a regional level, a national level, and an international global level, because I see all these different layers of rescue that we can actually have impact. Everyone can have impact. One of my heroes is Nathan Winograd from No Kill Nation, and he's an attorney. He ended up getting into running a shelter, taking it from high kill to no kill, and he's come up with a series of booklets that you can get for free on his website. He's created a video that you can actually, I
know, you can say
it can be rented at Chet's Video in Marblehead, my husband's store, but we actually rent it for free, because the goal here is to get the word out about how we can all have an impact on rescue and in our shelters, our local shelters.
This is a very powerful movie. I did watch it, and even though I've been spending a lot of time through Dog Health News, there was a lot of information that was new to me, and I really appreciate you introducing me to this.
Yeah, it's something I actually went and saw in a theater in Arlington, Massachusetts, and met Nathan. And he's a passionate rescuer, and he has a strategy out of this whole high kill that we have unfortunately created by having lots of breeders and puppy mills, dogs at pet stores. And also, culturally, in some parts of this country and in some communities, spaying and neutering is not necessarily something that people do automatically. They might say, oh, geez, I might want to have a litter with this dog because I might make a little money. No good can come of it. There's so many animals that need homes that you really don't do anybody a favor but if you don't spay and neuter your animals. And there's low-cost ways of doing that. You can always reach out to your local shelter and ask them, how can I, if you're going to get a dog, you should be able to afford it. Some people bite off more than they can chew because they're passionate about rescue. But there are low-cost ways of getting it. MSPCA, for example, in Nevins Farm in Methuen, has a low-cost spay-neuter program. They spay and neuter 7 days a week. And if you live in certain communities around Methuen, Massachusetts, they will spay for a ridiculous amount, like $10, something like that.
And for our audience listening to all of these ideas, they might want to get in touch with you, Carrie. So you want to let them know how to get in touch with you, and also continue on with what you're talking about, because I'm sure they want to know what they can do.
Sure. You can contact me via my email address, which is carrieth@comcast.net. Be glad to call you back or email you and help you figure out the situation that you've come across.
That's great.
Whether it be you need to get your animal spayed and neutered, or you see a situation where it needs intervention. So it's carrieeth@comcast.net.
That's great. That's great. And I know one of the pictures we haven't really showed everything, is a picture of a car that's filled with bags.
Yeah, that's my
about that.
Yeah, I had created a relationship with MSPCA Nevins, and Facebook is such a powerful social media tool that I gone up on what's called Marblehead Garage, which is a way to buy and sell things within Marblehead. It's kind of a local buy and sell. And I just posted a request that said, you have any linens, you have any towel, sheets, linens that you don't need anymore, drop them off at my video store and I will bring them up to Nevins. And I collected over 30 bags of linens and brought them up. And they're thrilled because they take in, MSPCA is connected to Angel and Nevins Farm. They take in over 6,000 surrenders a year, not just dogs, horses, cats, dogs, birds, you name it. Any kind of situation. Some of them are abuse cases, some of them are just relinquishing their animal. And so they have a huge need for linens, if you will. Every dog should have a little blanket or a little sheet or something that they can cozy up with, and that's what it's about.
That's easy. I know. I'm even thinking to myself, I have plenty of things that I could be donating. Just didn't think of that.
And you can actually do it to your local shelter, Marblehead or different towns or cities have shelters that need. All you have to do is pick up the phone or stop by when they're open. You can go up on their websites and see when they're open and ask them what they need. What do they need for help?
That's a great suggestion for our audience, where whoever's watching in any part of the world.
That's right.
So
exactly.
That's great. Now, okay, I know there's so many things we want to talk about. It's really hard. But there is one picture that I don't want to leave out, and that is the picture of Lily, and that.
Yeah, Lily is the reason why National Mill Dog Rescue started. Lily is was an Italian greyhound that was rescued by a woman named Teresa Strader. She got her from a dog auction in Missouri. In her first years, she was confined to a metal cage, a cold metal cage, in a really dark, foul-smelling barn. And she was never taken out of her cage. She was forced to have one litter after another, and she was worn out. So you can see her face is distorted, the roof of her mouth rotted, and her lower jaw rotted away, because these animals, these dogs, are kept in a cage, fed with the dripping water, so they never really clean their mouth. They don't get any dental or medical care. So she was rescued by this woman, Teresa Strader, and Teresa vowed to Lily that she would keep the fight going. So she started National Mill Dog Rescue. Lily lived 15 months with the Strader family and then passed. But they are incredibly successful in rescuing thousands of dogs from puppy mill auctions. The situation here is we need to stop the puppy mills, but right now the only other way to do it is, of course, through legislation, and we can do that. But the other piece is these animals at a certain point of their lives, around 5 years old, they're no longer useful to these breeders, and they're usually destroyed, which means they kill them. Instead, these groups, National Mill Dog Rescue goes in and takes them and rescues them.
Okay.
And that's Harley and Teddy working closely with Lily's founder, Teresa Strader, the National Mill Dogs Rescue.
So just to remind our audience about more of the things that they can do, because the more people do things, the bigger this goes, it spreads, and more you talk to just one person after the next. That program that is dealing with just one thing. Yeah, the power of one, and it's something that Nathan Winograd mentions in his book. There's a film companion book that goes with the Redemption video, and there's a whole section on the power of one, and what it's saying is everyone can do at least one thing. Now, you think that I don't work, but I have a full-time job. So I'm doing this in my spare time. I'm taking days off to do transport because I'm drawn to it. That's my passion, to save more animals. I do home visits and help rescue groups that are not local make a decision on whether or not an animal can go to a home. I just completed 2 visits for Second Chance Rescue of New York City. And these dogs came from Texas, and I forget where the other one came from, but they came from long distance. But the power of one means anyone can help. Just do one thing. And the minute you start doing one thing, you're going to want to do more. It's going to mushroom, because there's so much to do, and it's so necessary. We've created this problem. We've domesticated these animals, and now we've got to do something about it. We've got to create better spay-neuter programs. We've got to create programs in school systems to have them understand how to handle animals, how to be compassionate to animals. And also, there's all the different pieces, the home visits, or going to your local shelter and walking a dog, or playing with a kitten, enrichment programs to keep these animals sane while they're waiting to be adopted. Yeah, very important point.
Yeah, or foster. Yeah. There's such a need across this country for foster. That's huge. Just to open your home up and to let an animal stay with you while they're finding their forever home.
And how long is an average foster care?
It can vary. I spoke to a shelter recently that said they don't like to put a timestamp on it because they want to find that perfect home for that animal. Sometimes the people who foster become foster failures because they fall in love, and that's great.
Yeah.
We like foster failures. But we need to create more, a better ability to have these animals, not necessarily in a cold cage or in a a cement floor shelter. They thrive much better in a home environment. A lot of times when they go into a shelter, if it's not something that's cozy or warm, they actually go down hill faster, and they don't look like something that you'd want to bring home because they look like they're, they get sick, whatever, and that's really something that we're trying to change as well in the shelter program.
And what I'm also hearing, just to share with the audience again, is to do more research and really go out and visit the shelters and find out about the rescues as an alternative to a spontaneous decision that could be wrong.
Right. If everyone went to a shelter instead of going to a pet store or a breeder, that would be probably more than half the problem solved right there. Only 20% of the people in this country go to a shelter to get their dog. They don't think that it's not hard to believe. There's a lot of purebreds, but if you look at my 3 little dogs, Joey, Toby, and Scooter, they're all mixes. They're such a nice pack. You could see them at the beginning of the show with them lying on my bed and them just all cuddling each other. They are they're not purebreds, but they don't need to be. They're all very special, and sometimes when you get purebreds, you end up with other issues too, health issues, because they might be inbred a little bit too much. Irresponsible breeders can create dogs that have a lot of medical conditions.
This is very, very true. And just don't want to forget to mention our local representative, Lori Ehrlich, and the work that you're doing, because, well, you can say why. Because it's so important to get involved, and maybe that might be an area that our audience wants to.
Right. You can contact. I actually took a lobbying class through MSPCA, and I attended Lobby Day for Animals at the State House, and I met with our state representative Lori Ehrlich and Senator McGee's Director of Legislative Affairs, and talked about the different bills that are trying to go through. The State House to get passed. One is the No Dogs on Hot Cars. There's all kinds of bills that they're trying to pass around animal care, animal welfare. And Lori is a huge advocate. She's co-sponsored the ivory bill to try to stop the illegal ivory trade. But she also is a huge advocate, and I've met with her several times. It is really key to make relationships with your legislators. They're just people like us. They have animals. You can make that animal connection, and you can actually have very strong impact, not just on one animal, but maybe millions of animals in the future.
And that would really be for anyone watching the show in any area.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
It doesn't take a lot of time. It just takes effort and knowledge. The other thing that we need to do also is we were talking about Soy Dog Foundation internationally, globally, because we have to change so many different areas. And
this is a tough one.
That's a tough one.
Explain
the
Soy Dog.
Yeah, they're in Thailand, and they actually try to give abused and neglected animals care. And they have a huge sterilization program. They've sterilized over 101,000 cats and dogs. And they're trying to stop the dog meat trade. There's several countries in this world that are still eating cat and dog, and they're trying to stop it because it's illegal. but people are still doing it. So they're stopping trucks full of dogs or cats, and they're pulling them over and they're taking the animals. So,
horrible. I think you should give the URL.
Yeah, there's that one is going to come up at the end. I believe it's soydog.org. But yeah, they spayed and neutered over 101,000 cats and dogs, and they do it all by donation. It's all through donation. Wonderful group. So it's really key.
Now, just because I know we're getting close on time, I wanted to mention one of the newer subjects that you had brought up, and that's how to actually look at a shelter as a business, and
Yeah.
what you might want to look at before that's an option.
Well, it's more. I just spent a few months working at a pet product company, selling pet products to shelters and humanes across the country. And I saw some of the shelters embrace a business model around selling pet products, so leads and collars and crates and bowls and toys, different things like that, offering them to the public for sale. They buy them at wholesale, they sell them at retail, they make profit.
So that helps.
It helps tremendously. I had one of my shelters that I worked with spent around $90,000 a year and made $90,000. So that can be a huge impactful thing. There are pet product companies out there that they can contact. If they have a retail area locally, Northeast Animal Shelter, you go to them. You'll see that they have a lobby, and in the lobby they have all different products for sale. That's what they're doing. Yeah. They're making profits for animals. Instead of going to a big box store, you can go to your shelter and buy the products. You're giving back to the animals.
See, this is really the value of getting this information out and making people aware of the number of things that they can do, even if you don't own a dog. You don't have to have a dog to help a dog.
That is correct. Yeah.
And I'm just ever so delighted that you are here to talk to us. What haven't we covered, Carrie?
Animal Rescue Corps.
Okay.
Animal Rescue Corps. Just a quick one about that. I got connected to them. They're a national organization. They're run by Scotland Hastley. You can go up on Facebook and look him up. They've been working. Scotland, Scotland. Hastley is Haisley.
Great.
He's been doing rescue for years, but for 5 years they created this model where they call it compassion in action. They basically work with government and law enforcement, and they go in and they take the animals from puppy mill raids, from dog fighting rings, from hoarding situations. They break the chains, the dogs living on chains in the woods from dog fighting. They empty the cages, and then they have veterinarians that come in and take care of all the animals. They're right now working on 3 simultaneous rescues, and they're down in Tennessee. Actually, it's, 2-week operation in 5 Tennessee counties where they rescued over 140 animals. So they do this, they find these animals that are living in awful conditions. Some of them are hoarding situations, or they've been abandoned in properties that are out in the woods. And they go in and they rescue them. It's an amazing group, and there's only 3 people that get paid in this organization. The rest are volunteers.
And that's the name of the game, volunteers and helping.
Exactly.
And I think also just awareness. We live in a community, of course, where most people are actually nice to their animals, but that is not the case around the world. And for me, and I just want to thank you so much, Carrie. Thank you.
Thanks for having
me. For taking the time to be with us on Dog Health News, because we want to spread the word. And if you watch this show, I hope as a viewer that you will share this show and share it with your family, your friends, anyone out there that needs to know more about how they can help at least one dog. So thank you very much.
Thanks.
And thank you. This is Roberta Chadis with Dog Health News. We'll be back with another show soon.